Welcome to another podcast of the IT OT Insider. With me is, of course, David, like always. And David, this time we invited somebody we met at Hannover Messe.
Absolutely. So super happy to have Andreas Vogler here with us. And Andreas, I'll let you introduce yourself. But a couple of weeks ago, we were at a dinner in the evening, and we never actually physically met, but I knew your name, and I think you also know my name. We went like, oh, that's a familiar face. We started talking, and here we are. Thank you for joining our podcast. Why don't you kick things off with just a brief introduction of yourself and your role?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks for having me. It was really great to meet you at the dinner, by the way. Yeah. So my name is Andreas Vogler. I'm the maker of MonsterMQ, right? So the open source MQTT broker. And I'm a long-term employee of ETM. ETM is a company located in Austria, but we fully belong to Siemens. And ETM is the home of WinCC open architecture, the SCADA system, one of the SCADA systems of Siemens. And yeah, I'm always saying about myself that I'm an IT guy, so I'm not so much at the OT level. And also from my education, I started as an IT programmer, let's say, a lot of things with databases. That is still in my heart, databases all around data and data streaming and so. And I started my career as an Oracle developer, Oracle engineer, Oracle database administrator. And of course, always together with our SCADA system, WinCC open architecture. And did many projects together with WinCC OA, with database, with Oracle, and went all around the world to support and help our customers also to build up this formerly full-blown Oracle clusters, high availability. So that was really fun. And I still can remember the time when I was sitting at the customer and having a book with me, an Oracle book, and searching in the book, how is the command to, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
So we still saw those books lying around. We saw those books lying around, like Oracle 6 or Oracle 9, and they're like Bibles.
Yeah, we also had our fair share of Oracle in our in our past jobs, which is really cool because this is just a completely going sidetrack here. But the interest. So a while ago, I was talking to a junior OT developer, and he at a certain point he had to write a bit of SQL code to generate some reports. And he just went to whatever Claude, LLM, ChatGPT. I don't know what he was using, but something like. And he asked to write a piece of code which was very, I would say, resource intensive. Didn't work really well. And then I asked him, like, can you explain to me like what the thing it is you're now executing against your database? And he just went like, no, like I don't.
Sure.
And then I go like, Jesus, like there are a couple of basics you should still be able to master.
I mean, that things are really, really changing. I can remember that was one of the hardest parts to optimize SQL queries, right? So you had to, what kind of execution plan, in creating new indexes and check it again. And we had really full-blown SQL statements, really 1 or 2 pages. Yeah. But you mentioned that, nowadays, I also already had the experience with other colleagues, and so they are programming something with AI, and then I ask, how did you do that? They say, I don't know. And this is somehow a little bit, I'm not sure if that is going into
I'm
the
sure
right direction.
that people said the same thing when they moved away from assembler to like higher level languages.
That's the big question, yeah? Is it the same?
Okay, but now we are going into a
full different direction. Andreas,
I think I was not really finished. So, I started my career as an Oracle expert, and then, of course, with SCADA systems and platforms, and then we got acquired by Siemens, so big company, Siemens. And the last 6 years, I have been working directly for a Siemens department for 100%, still located in Austria. And there we did a lot of things into the direction of new technologies, finding current trends in the market. And I was the guy to create proof of concepts, how this can work together with our SCADA systems, like GraphQL interface for WinCC Unified and so. And now I'm half back to ETM again. So ETM is still a own legal company. And now I'm the CIO of ETM, the Chief Innovation Officer, but I'm still 50% also within Siemens, and they are still responsible to, let's say, drive the future of our SCADA HMI systems. So just to finish that.
It's super interesting. Chief Innovation Officer,
Yeah.
which is maybe we should also talk a bit about what's like upcoming innovations at the end of the podcast.
I think it would be very interesting to know like what's happening in that field in terms of innovation. Doesn't feel always so lively if you compare to the tech world.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm always saying new things like this, new things in the market, because new things in, let's say, new things in the OT, IT level or SCADA HMI, where we have the industry, new things are maybe already for a long time available in the IT world. So
that's always true. That's always true. The advantage is like the first disease is always disappeared by the time it starts to go into this kind of world. Andreas, you're also known, like you said, for MonsterMQ. So you've been working with MQTT for a long time, and especially around Industry 4.0, there's quite some buzz around MQTT, but I think you really understand this at a fundamental level.
Maybe I already forgot something about it, but but yeah, 2 years, I think roughly 2 years or so ago, also MQTT, a huge trend on the market. Walker Reynolds was driving it with the UNS and so, and I have used MQTT also already before, right? But at that point in time, I was thinking, what is the best way to really understand MQTT in deep as much as possible? And then I thought, okay, let's build my own broker.
Yes, of course.
As people do.
As people do.
Obviously.
Yeah. Of course.
So implementing by my own, I will learn how it works. And I had the luck. So I really love the Java ecosystem, JVM. And also at that point in time, I started to learn Kotlin. Kotlin, I'm always saying Kotlin is the new, modern, better Java, let's say, still based on the JVM. You still have the full ecosystem, but it is functional style. And I wanted to learn functional programming, And then I thought, okay, let's build a new broker. And okay, I'm starting to learn Kotlin. Let's build it in Kotlin. And there are already cool frameworks out there, like this WordX. I think this was initially built by IBM. So it is some kind of a reactive framework for Java and also for Kotlin. And they also already have the core, the TCP, IP stack, how the basics of MQTT are already implemented there. But all the things around user management, queuing of messages, quality of service, and so on, that one you have to build by your own. And so I started with this stack to build MonsterMQ. And before, I also had already another open source project, the Automation Gateway, which was also built in Kotlin. And it is some kind of, I added more and more features to it, to this Automation Gateway. And I can remember I also posted a lot of things about it on LinkedIn. And then a colleague from the States said, hey, man, you're using so many different open source pieces and put them together. Yeah, this is like the Frankenstein. And I was thinking, okay.
Welcome to IT.
Yeah. And then I thought, okay, Frankenstein, that's a cool name. Open source products sometimes have cool names. And that was the Automation Gateway. And then I've built the MQTT broker. Then I thought about a name, Frankenstein. His kid was the monster. So now this is the MonsterMQ.
That's where the name comes from.
Backstory.
That's the story behind the name.
Now finally I know that. I was always going like, but what's the monster part?
Yeah, but it took off somehow. I mean, it's became more than just I want to understand how MQTT work. Let me just code the broker and.
That's a good point, because as I said, 2 years ago, so I started to build it, and I'm not a user interface developer, so I have no hand, and I know JavaScript, of course, but I have never built web pages or dashboards or user interfaces, and so everything was based on configuration files, in my MonsterMQ, and then I was more or less finished. It worked fine. And also interesting is for the storage, I'm using databases, not because I'm a database guy. Yeah, so I'm using PostgreSQL or MongoDB or SQLite for smaller implementations. And that was also why I'm loving it, because I always have the possibility to go into the database, look into the database tables, and then I see the sessions, the user management, all of the configuration, and also the queued messages and also retained messages. I can query with SQL. Yeah? And I'm a little bit lost, so what I wanted to say. Yeah, but anyhow, so I was finished with it, yeah, and then I was done. And then 1.5 years, this crazy ChatGPT thing came out, where you started with Visual Studio Code and Copilot, where you was typing a code section, and then it was suggesting you the next code, and sometimes I felt a little bit, how can this thing know what I want to program now? That was already fascinating, but far away from where we are now, with AI coding, agentic coding, and so. And now I can also build cool dashboards, and so I decided to build a dashboard for MonsterMQ, and it has an open API. It is based on GraphQL, the MonsterMQ itself, so everything has an API, so you can build on top of that API very easily a dashboard. And then it started to gain more attraction, also posting it on LinkedIn, having a cool administration interface dashboard to configure it, and so now it's getting more traction.
What are the different parts of the application you built? Is it I would say purely a broker?
That's a good point. Yeah, I started with it as a pure broker, let's say. And then I said it before, I have this automation gateway where I also have a lot of connectivity, PLC4X, another open source project, getting the data in, writing the data to databases and so on. And I started to take this from the automation gateway and build it now into the MonsterMQ broker. And so now it is way more than just the MQTT broker. And recently also at the Hannover Fair, I had a podcast with the guys from Coreflux and Dylan, and they are more or less, maybe we coined the term, it's MQTT plus. Sorry, not MQTT anymore, it is way more. So it has connectivity to PLCs via this PLC4X open source project. You can write data to different databases. I added a scripting possibility so you can transform the data with flows, and I even can't remember anymore. I also integrated AI agents in it, with this A2A protocol, let's say. So now you can create agents inside of the broker, and they're running there, and I have it running at home. So I really have to use
doing what?
Turning on and off the lights.
So my MonsterMQ broker at home is running, of course, 24/7. And I have a lot of sensors in my house, and also power meters for my photovoltaic, and also how much power I'm getting from the grid and how much power I'm sending to the grid, and also temperature sensors. And I have recently, I've bought a very small, cheap jacuzzi. So Whirlpool, it is outside. Then I thought, I always have to take a look. Does the sun shine? Do I have enough photovoltaic? What is the temperature of the jacuzzi? Should I turn on the heater or not? Because the heater uses a lot of energy. Then I thought, hey, let's build an agent. And this agent is now running every 30 minutes or so, and it will get from the broker, the context. It gets the history of the last, 3 or 6 hours of the photovoltaic production, the last 6 hours, the temperature, if it is rising or falling, and so on, some context. And of course, with the prompt and so on, I'm saying, you are my house agent. Tell me if it is a good time to turn on or off the heater. And it is writing me and telling me now is a good time to turn on the heater. And that is really helpful for me.
as automation engineers do. Hey, open source. This is I want to zoom in a little bit on that. Like in our industrial world, like there are haters and lovers. There are pros and there are cons. There are people who go like, yeah, I'm I don't know what. Either they even don't know it. It's something from IT, maybe, yeah. Or they go like, yeah, but I don't want to take the risk, or maybe even overuse it. Like, what is your take on open source in an industrial context?
Yeah, that's a hard thing, let's say, a hard question. And I mean, everyone wants to have everything open source nowadays. Yeah, in the industry, maybe not. Yeah, but also in the industry, they want to start maybe with open source. Yeah, to have to know that if something happens to the company behind, then you have the source code. Yeah, you can, in theory, maintain it by your own. But now with AI, maybe this really turns out that you can maybe maintain it by your own. But on the other hand side, and I also I talk to some potential customers, let's say, or companies about using MonsterMQ, for example, and then they are at the end of the day they are asking, can I get support? Can I get a maintenance contract? Yeah, and that is currently not available for MonsterMQ, right? Because it's purely open source.
It requires you to have the skills in-house that you would maybe contract out.
What do you mean? What?
Let's say if you do not have a support contract, you will have to find people who know the software well enough if there's a problem to find out what's wrong,
but to be honest, if you use it in a big company, then you can't. How to say, if you would be responsible for that piece of software, then you will not say, okay, if something happens, then I start to find people.
No, that's too late. You need to have them.
Yeah,
you need to have them.
Yeah, but it's a very because now we're also stepping a bit into this buy versus build discussion, which isn't per se linked to the open source discussion. Eh? Like you could perfectly buy a tool which I would say on the foundation is purely open source, but still you have this company who not just provides you support, but also everything around cybersecurity, for example.
Sure.
Let's take. Just recently we published a first article on this too, but from a software supplier point of view, you're actually obliged now to follow in a year at least the CRA, the Cyber Resilience Act. So I actually don't. Have you came across that type of questions as well?
For the CRA, not yet, let's say. Yeah. So, but yeah, to be honest, I also don't know really how many people are using it. Yeah. I mean, I know at least of some companies, and also there's a big company which is really using it in production, but also only for a small parts, let's say, of the whole production. Yeah. But they also said before they had a MQTT broker, they had some Docker or Kubernetes containers running to transform the data, another container self-made, which writes the data to a database. And the responsible guy said, if MonsterMQ, you can do all of that in one piece. Yeah? And for that kind of use, it seems to be not, I'm not sure. Maybe it is already also critical, yeah, because if he loses the data, then it is still. But anyhow, also a good point what you mentioned is build versus buy. Yeah? Also, this is now a little bit transforming with AI. Yeah? Before AI coding, yeah, I was also, if I needed something, then I was looking for an open source tool, yeah, which fits to my needs or to my use case. But then you find some which is maybe not doing all of that, then, or you find some which is too complex and this is doing way more. But nowadays, for small things, yeah, and not complex tasks, you just can build it with AI with just prompts. Huh?
It's interesting, but like the we started writing on cybersecurity as well because there is this almost intrinsic link between the software you will not only buy, but especially the software you get from open source or the software you build yourself, because so we have NIS2 and the CRA. And maybe for our listeners, there is this article on our blog, you can find it. But like NIS2 are the cybersecurity, the framework, the risk management, the things you need to do from an end user perspective. So they just do whatever they.
End user being companies,
Yeah, companies.
Not you at home,
absolutely.
But like basically all companies
but
in Europe.
The interesting thing there is that now manufacturing companies are in scope, and there are a lot of things you need to do. You need to know your asset inventory. You need to know what you have. You are C-level can become personal liable. You need to do instant reporting, etc. But that's from an end user perspective. From a software supplier perspective, you have this CRA thing, the Cyber Resilience Act, where the EU requires certain things a vendor needs to adhere to if you want to sell software to EU companies. And that means that the vendor also needs to have, for example, their entire development process under control. It also needs to have their entire supply chain, the libraries you're using under control. It needs to post, for example, security reports and all that kind of things. And actually, that brings you, I guess, in a situation where at a certain point you probably have to choose between like what is going to happen with MonsterMQ if companies keep on asking me like, we want to use this, but
yeah, that's. I mean, as of now, I still do not have a clear plan for it. Yeah, what will happen with it in future? Yeah, so as said, I've been talking to several people and also companies, and yeah, let's see. I can't tell you anything more about it.
But I guess you're you're accepting offers.
Sure, if they're high.
Send Andreas an email.
I had already talking to a guy, another big company. It was more like, so should I acquire MonsterMQ? So somehow.
But I also had a couple of years ago. I also had a small side project when solar batteries were a thing. Like I thought, like but I can, before ChatGPT and vibe coding and all the stuff. But I thought like but I can actually create a battery simulator to like simulate based on PV data, simulate what the effect of a battery in a house could be, and whether there is a business case to buy or lease or whatever a battery or not. So it was a bit the same. Like I built the platform, I just opened it to the community. Everybody like, you can upload whatever data you want. Big problem for me was that batteries weren't that interesting. So my big plan was to sell the software to like, I don't know, battery installer companies.
And they all found out like the business case is negative.
the simulator almost always said like, there is no business case.
That's interesting. I also did the same 2-3 years ago. So because I have my photovoltaic already for 10 plus years, yeah. And I collected all of the data of it and also how much power I consume. So I have power meters, yeah. And then I also implemented those days also by my own some Python scripts to read the data and simulate what would happen if I have a battery. And so the outcome was, it does not really pay. Yeah? And I always thought maybe my calculation is wrong, yeah, but I still don't know. Maybe it was wrong, but maybe not.
I think it's not an easy case to make. In the summer you have too much, and in the winter you don't have enough.
That's exactly the problem. In the winter you can have a big battery, but that will get so expensive. And even though you can't load it, yeah.
Exactly. Maybe another topic that you also touched upon in the beginning is in industry we're quite late with accepting things and with trying out new things. I do think though that the impact of agentic coding is not going to take 10 years to find its way. I mean, you're already experimenting quite a lot with it. you're working on the
absolutely,
innovation side of
absolutely.
things. How
Yeah.
does that change things? Because we're in a very regulated environment very often. They do expect strict controls, and the code that comes out of an agentic agent, like we said in the beginning, if you know what's happening, might also bring risks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I started with really this vibe coding is maybe too much. When I started with AI coding, also with MonsterMQ, I always still had a look on the source code if it is doing the right thing in the right class, in the right file, because a lot of times it decides just to create a new class for it, and then I'm telling it, hey, there is already a file or a class or whatever where this fits into, or we already have it, and so you still have to guide the AI into the right direction so that the software does not get too fragile, let's say. So I think currently you must be the architect, and maybe also the product manager, because you must know what you want to have, and then but maybe also this will change. And to be honest, also with other sidelines project, like I don't know, recently I've built a MQTT, MonsterMQ, but it has nothing to do with the MonsterMQ broker Explorer. It is like a MQTT Explorer just built for me for my use cases. And also it has connectivity to our SCADA platforms, WinCC Open Architecture, WinCC Unified, where you can also browse those SCADA systems, right? But anyhow, that doesn't matter. I've built that really with vibe coding. I've never ever taken a look on the source code. And to be honest, for those kind of software, it's not a critical thing. It's just for me to take a look into the broker, to take a look into our SCADA systems. It doesn't really matter. And I'm really getting lazy, because I don't want to take a look on this kind of code, JavaScript or so. I don't care. It works.
Like, and so I get that from the point of view of your personal explorer or whatever, but you are also the chief innovation officer for a company who provides software to a very, very big part of the industry.
Absolutely.
What do you see happening on the let's say on that side, and maybe not going into too much product names, but just like in general, what is happening on that side?
I mean, we are on the frontier level, however this is called. So we are really also now already, we already started several months or a year ago to use AI, to use this in our PLM process, to support our people so that they can do their job way more faster. But still, of course, touching, for example, not the core of our SCADA system, is still that a human must review everything there, because that is a very important piece of software. It is controlling power plants or whatever, So we will not do coding there and say, oh, okay, maybe it works. But anyhow, also for the things around, for example, for our new engineering tool for WinCC Open Architecture, which is fully web-based, also has full support for AI-driven development for the engineer then, also there, to be honest, we are using AI coding a lot because the time it's incredible. And also, I have another example. 2 years ago, we have built a proof of concept to bring, I don't know, I think it was about video streaming or so. It doesn't really matter. 2 or 3 people working 3-4 months on a proof of concept. And then it was finished. And it was a proof of concept, some piece of software, a little bit fragile, not really functional, complete, not really well, good implemented, because it doesn't matter. We just wanted to prove something, But then some months later with AI coding, I thought, hey, let's build that piece of software from scratch again with AI coding in Rust, a programming language I always wanted to learn, but I have never learned it.
Same here.
And it took me, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 weeks or so, and I built that from scratch. It works perfectly. It is also open source, by the way. RTSP streaming, video streaming software, and imagine that, 3 people, 3 months, compressed to, I don't know, 3 weeks. But to be honest, I have to say, I learned a lot about how to build this software. Yeah? So that knowledge I already gained at the 3 months. Yeah? And so I was able to tell the AI to guide him into the right direction.
And that remains extremely. And there are so many bad examples about people who have, like my example from the beginning, the junior have never actually wrote more than a select star from whatever, but like who then gets things he or she doesn't understand. But like I want to do one step, or want to come back to the point of view of the engineer. Obviously at home we are using tooling to write some whatever code for home usage. You already mentioned that you also see the way engineers interact with.
Absolutely. I mean, that is incredibly powerful. Also, we see that with our Windows Open Architecture, the next engineering environment, what we, by the way, have shown at the Prove It this year on stage live. Yeah, so it speeds up a lot of things because you connect the MCP server for, I don't know, OPC UA or whatever, or you give the AI the documentation of your device, which is based on Modbus. Yeah, it can figure out what kind of things are relevant for you, and then it automatically connects the Modbus driver to that device. And all that can then be done with just some prompts in this engineering tool. Yeah?
And what does that? So let's say I'm implementing a control loop like that. So something which is engineered, so I know, okay, this is the way I'm gonna I'm gonna control this equipment, and these are my boundaries, and these are my alerts, etc. So it's in your typical design spec documents, right? Where in the past, you or maybe even now, partly, you would one-on-one implements like whatever is in the Word document or wherever the design spec is in. An engineer would then implement that logic in a SCADA, DCS system, whatever. Like how do you see that work changing?
I'm not really sure if I'm getting it. So you mean that the spec from the end customer is given to the engineer, and then
and so typically you would have you would write down your spec. You would somebody would write down the I/O and what is happening and the steps and the logic which you would implement in your SCADA system. And then an engineer would build that logic
based on that specification.
Based on the specification.
That will also maybe turn, because we can give the specification to the AI. Yeah? Maybe it can do the job. Huh? The question is, who has written the specification? Yeah? Someone with some prompts. It is written by AI.
that might become the challenge.
That brings me to when ChatGPT was announced, let's say, and everyone was using ChatGPT. And the first time I've used it to write a letter, an email to the school of my kids or so. And I thought, let's use ChatGPT to write this email. Yeah. And it did it well. It was a 1 page or maybe 2 pages of email, just for a simple thing. Yeah. And then I thought, wow, that's now a lot of things to read. I mean, perfectly written, nicely written. So, but I thought, what will happen on the other side? It will, it's too much to read. Let's summarize it with AI. And that's strange now, because we use AI to create such a document, and then use AI to bring it back to that what I wanted to ask.
It's like a very inefficient API.
Absolutely, it's just a waste of energy.
So like, I don't like this. Write a very big letter, then compress again so the guy can read. I don't like this.
And the hyperscalers are getting money for it.
It's everybody happy.
Yes.
Now, we're still going to find out like how does AI coding work in this environment. Do you think that it's gonna result in faster innovations, faster change on that OT layer, or are we still gonna run 10 years behind?
I think that is maybe not a question of if you're doing it with AI coding or not, because that is more a question of if the real customers will be open enough to use such new features or whatever, and new trends, if they are jumping on it. Yeah, I mean, the industry is very stable. Yeah, on the other hand side, yeah, you have factories running for 10 plus years or so. Yeah, with the same setup, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's an interesting.
I still remember
statement.
that, for example, not that long ago, it was like, we must have everything on premise. And okay, and it took a while before trust was gained to say, okay, maybe we can accept some activities in the cloud. Now that's becoming a bit more common. Now, of course, with AI, will they accept the functionality of AI, but also the faster pace of innovation? Is it some resistance that you think that we have in industry?
I don't think so. I mean, to be faster in innovation is, I mean, that's something what is driving the company which is building something, yeah, and the end customer then has a faster access to new things and to new innovations. Yeah. But for sure, on the other side, maybe you can also think about it in another way. You can think about, okay, I can jump on any kind of new trend or innovation, yeah, and then build it and integrate it into our software. Yeah. But I think that is maybe also not the best way, because at least for our platforms in the industry, if you build something into your platform, then you have to maintain it. Yeah. And then one customer jumps on it, then you have to maintain it. And if that new feature, because it was an innovation just this year, and the next year no one is interested anymore, then you still have to maintain it because you have some customers. Yeah? So you still have to think about that. Is it really worth to build it?
It's an interesting takeaway, yeah? For those who are using. I think the most important takeaway for people who are using AI is consider your life cycle, consider your internal life cycle, like who is going to support this, what are you going to do with it. So we are through our time, but for those who want to take a look at MonsterMQ, we'll put the links in the show notes and the article.
Or
I think,
contribute
Andreas,
even.
you would also be really happy if people are contributing to the project, which you can, because it's on GitHub, so you can send in your your enhancements.
Hey, by the way, I met one of my contributors at the Hanover Fair in real life. That was also a cool experience. Yeah.
That's really, really cool. And I'm sure we will also put a couple of additional things in our links. So definitely take a look at it. Definitely take a look at the code base. Andreas, thank you so much for being on our show. That's a wrap for this episode of the IT/OT Insider podcast. There are lots of ways to become an IT/OT Insider now, Willem. We have our blog, we have our podcast, which you know. We have our upcoming book, which you can find via itotbook.com. You can pre-order it there. And we still have our IT/OT Academy as well, with the next cohort starting in September. That's you can go to itot.academy to find out all the information there is. So with that, thank you very much. And until we meet again, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Andreas.
Bye-bye.